Hello and welcome to the Rose Bush. My name is Rose. This is the channel where growth happens one thorn at a time. And today, I have another TED Talk that I'm reacting to. Well, I don't actually think it's a TED Talk. It's presented by TED, but it's not really like a talk. Regardless, I digress. It's presented by Neuroscientist Wendy Suzuki. She's speaking on how to calm your anxiety, which I need. So let's go ahead and just see what she's got to say.
You know when you get that ambiguous email from your boss and you start to feel sweaty palms and that empty, freaked out sensation in your stomach?
Every day.
Welcome back, anxiety. Most of us think of anxiety as a bad thing, something to be avoided at all costs. But what if it weren't? What if you could take all of that energy racing around your brain and your body and transform it into something helpful?
I'm here for it, Wendy.
Global anxiety levels, both the clinical kind and what I call the everyday kind, have increased tremendously in recent years. And many of us are noticing this at work. We might think of anxiety as something that we'd rather just leave on the side of the road if we could. But anxiety is an important tool that arose during our evolution that we use to avoid danger. It's essential for our survival. So how come we don't even feel vaguely protected by it? It's because the volume of our individual and collective anxiety levels has been turned way up too high, and too much of even a potentially good thing like anxiety is bad. So I would like to share two powerful science-based tools for turning down the volume on our anxiety and helping us get anxiety back to its helpful, protective state. And both of these tools begin by connecting with our bodies. Tool number one is breathwork. It's just simple, deep breathing. Slowly inhale and exhale. This can be one of the most immediate ways to calm anxiety because deep breath directly activates the natural de-stressing part of our nervous systems called the parasympathetic nervous system.
I like to, It's like, I like to breathe in deeply for 8 counts, and then I like to hold for 8. And then I like to push it out as much as I can in a count of 4. And then I like to just keep doing that. Like if I'm having a really hard time with something, my anxiety or things like that, I like to just, breathe in as much as you can within 8 counts. Hold it for 8 and then just release it as much as you can within like a count of 4. That's what I like to do. So if that's not what you like to do, then don't do it.
I recommend a boxed breathing approach, which is inhale deeply on 4 counts, hold at the top for 4 counts, exhale deeply on 4 counts, and hold at the bottom for 4 counts. You can even do this in the middle of any anxiety-provoking conversation, and no one will even know. Lots of people, from ancient monks to modern meditators, have figured this tool out and use it all the time. Tool number 2, moving your body. This one also has immediate positive effects on your mood state, but for a different reason. Every time you move your body, you're releasing a whole bunch of beneficial neurochemicals in your brain. These neurochemicals include dopamine, serotonin, noradrenaline, and endorphins, mood and reward boosting neurochemicals that work to both increase positive mood states and decrease negative ones. I like to say that every single time you move your body, it's like giving yourself a wonderful bubble bath of neurochemicals for your brain. So when your boss's email comes in and your heart starts to race, what exactly can you do? If you're in an office, try taking a short walk around the block or even to the supply closet for some sticky notes. If you're working from home, put on 2 of your favorite songs and dance around the living room like no one is watching.
Listen, that's just great advice anyway, especially if you're really having a hard time, you're in a really bad mood, you're angry, you're depressed. you're feeling a certain way, even if you are experiencing a moment where you're really being really hard on yourself with negative self-talk, put on something, put on some music, put on something high energy, and it will help. It will. I know from experience, so try it. It will really benefit you and really change your life. It really will. And it's just important. Like, I work from home, so I struggled a bit with getting into a new routine. I wanted to be at home. It helped my mental health. It's helped my physical health as well. But it took me a while to figure out and get a routine going. And I do walk every day in the morning before my shift, before I come into this space. And that's also something that's been really difficult for me as far as like anxiety and not really like on a procrastination side, because I don't consider myself a procrastinator. Like, I get things done ASAP, and I have to, because I obsess about getting things done. So I'm not a procrastinator, but that doesn't mean that I don't get overwhelmed, overstimulated, and just completely exhausted. And in those situations, you just have to do what you can to get through them. And working from home, I had to figure it out. I had to figure out a new routine. I had to figure out something that I had to figure out a routine. So yeah, when I get stressed at work, what do? I go find my cat and I go a little water. So if you don't have access to a fur baby or any kind of animal or any kind of things like that, you have access to outside. So go outside. It's very, very beneficial. Back to Wendy.
Watching. Studies have shown that all it takes is 10 minutes of walking to get those mood-boosting effects. But be creative with your movement session, whether that's a quick session of power vacuuming a la Mrs. Doubtfire when you're stressed about a deadline, or during a set of jumping jacks, or getting off the elevator one floor early to do a power walk up that last flight of stairs before an important meeting. All of these possibilities will all help your anxiety levels come down. In fact, I tested this effect on my own NYU students. First, I had them take an anxiety assessment before leading them in a movement session that included movements from kickbox and dance and yoga and martial arts together with positive spoken affirmations. Then I had them retake that same anxiety assessment again. What happened? After our movement session, their anxiety scores had decreased to normal levels. Now that's powerful, real-world example that you can use in your life today. So make sure to incorporate these bursts of activity in your day and try one out next time you're feeling stress. It can really make your anxiety feel less all-consuming. Once you connect with your body and turn the volume down on your anxiety, two important things will happen. First, when that email comes in, you'll be in a better position to evaluate what about it makes you anxious. Is it that you've taken on too much? Or that you feel insecure about a particular skill set? In other words, you'll be able to use this emotion, anxiety, for exactly what it was evolved to do. Warn you about potential dangers so you can become aware of them and find ways to effectively and creatively address them in your everyday life. Second, once you find the warning signals in your anxiety, you'll be able to communicate with others. You might seek out advice from a trusted colleague when that difficult issue arises, or you might even have a conversation with your boss about how to prioritize projects. Because you're no longer in fight or flight mode, asking for that support won't feel nearly as threatening. And one of the best gifts of approaching your anxiety in this way is that you will be able to notice those telltale signs of anxiety in everyone else around you, especially those forms of anxiety you're most familiar with. And what will that do? That will allow you to give that person a smile or a kind word to help them through that moment. In other words, your own form of anxiety can boost your personal superpower of empathy. And I can't think of anything we need in this world today more than higher levels of empathy for
I
one
agree.
another. Your take home in all of this? If you breathe, move, and take note of what your anxiety is signaling, you'll feel more fulfilled, more creative, more connected, and less stressed overall. And that's my wish for every one of us.
That was really educational. Both of those suggestions, tips that she presented, personally, I do. As I said previously, I do walk every day before work. If I can't get up because I physically cannot because of my health conditions, that I will attempt to walk after I get off work. It's kind of like a non-negotiable. Like, I gotta get up, I gotta get my walk in, and I gotta start my day that way. Because if I don't, I tend to not have good days. And the breathwork exercise that she presented really does work. So if you're struggling, you're having a really difficult time, especially like in the moment of anxiety, try the breathwork. Really, try the breathwork. Remove yourself from whatever the situation is that's giving you anxiety. If it is work, go ahead and remove yourself from the situation. That is the best way to disconnect your brain from the situation. At least that's my personal experience with having to regulate and learning to regulate myself. So as always, I really appreciate you spending your time with me today. I'm really grateful that you chose to do so and that you watched this TED Talk with me. I hope you learned something. Please let me know down in the comments if you did, or you have any tips or tricks too that help you with your anxiety. I would love to hear them because I'm a very anxious person and I need all the help I could get. Again, thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Rose, and I hope to see you on the next one.